Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and welcome to our Westchester Weekly Update. It's Monday, April 25th, and we're very happy to be with you to talk about some of the key issues that we're facing in Westchester County. I'm going to be joined, as I always am, by our Deputy County Executive, Ken Jenkins, and our special guest partner for municipal government that we'll have on in just a couple of seconds is the town supervisor of the town of Pound Ridge, Kevin Hanson. Kevin has been with us in past years with these updates, and we're very happy to have him come back to talk about his town of Pound Ridge, which is one of the most lovely spots in Westchester County. If you're not familiar with it, you should be familiar with it. It's got some terrific parks and recreational facilities, and Kevin will talk about some of his initiatives as town supervisor. In this report, we're going to touch on action that we intend to take in the county government regarding gas prices at the pump, and then a companion effort toward reducing the cost of bus fares over the summertime. We're going to talk about the Grid Rewards program. We'll talk a little bit about masks on mass transit, both our bus system and at our airports. We will touch upon the recent household cleanup day that was held in Yorktown, and we'll also talk about our cultural rallies that we expect to have over the course of the springtime and summertime, as we reinstitute them after having gone 2 years without them because of COVID. And of course, we'll give you an update on COVID. But first, our guest today is the town supervisor, as I've said, of the town of Pound Ridge. Every one of these updates, we try to have an individual who's involved in local government, the towns, the villages, the cities, or someone in state government to come and talk to us and give us some insight in their responsibilities. Kevin has been serving as town supervisor for as long as I've been county executive. He has a small but very important community. It's right on the Connecticut border, northeastern corner of the town, and I'll let him talk a little bit further about it. So without any further ado, Kevin Hanson, the supervisor from the town of Pound Ridge, our municipal guest for this week. Kevin, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
George, thank you very much for having me. I mean, I could speak for hours about the town of Pound Ridge. I can tell you that right now. Unfortunately, though, I got to start with the bad news is that we are seeing an uptick in COVID, and even in our own town building, we're going to have to go back and start putting masks on again a little bit, and it's been a little bit disheartening because here we thought we were getting past this, and then it still hits us. But we're still going to continue on this year coming up in Pound Ridge. We have a lot of activities planned because we really truly believe that Pound Ridge is like the perfect example of the place in Westchester where you can live, you can work, and you can play. It has it all right there. One of the unique things, real quickly, that I want to touch on about the pandemic is it's really changed the nature of a town like Pound Ridge, in that the Pound Ridge never really had a transportation. It doesn't have a train station with it, doesn't even have much public transportation. And as a result, we're seeing such an uptick of the number of people that are actually now working from home. One of the things that we've been doing is try to figure out how we're going to provide better cell service. And when we did the survey, we found out 67% of our residents now identify themselves as working from home. That changes what a municipality needs to do. All of a sudden it says, wait a minute, we knew electricity was important, but now it's even everything else related to get the cell service, the internet access to keep them working at home. And so that's our big initiative this year is what can we do to kind of make these people be able to be productive at home, and how can we as a town government support them in that activity. So we're seeing a lot more people walk around our roads. We're also seeing that during the day that we typically never saw before. And these are all good problems, and we're very excited about the problems that we're having here in Pound Ridge. You may hear some of it locally in terms of leaf blowers, because leaf blowers have a tendency to be disruptive to people that work from home. So right now that's an initiative that we're looking at. Maybe we can not ban them, but maybe kind of restrict some of them a little bit during the time of day, so that people give more use there. So I'm just very excited about Pound Ridge. I hope everybody gets a chance to come out and visit us. There's a lot of activities going on. Pound Ridge is also becoming a very big art center. If you don't get the chance, come on in to see it. There's a brand new sculpture in town called Stickosaurus. It's about 30 feet high, 60 feet wide, and it's a giant stick that looks like a dinosaur. And the other thing is later this year, we're going to be launching what we call our Village Green, where we literally took an old gas station in town and we decided what's the best use for it. We tore it down, and we're putting a beautiful village green on there with some private donations to make it out, and so we're very excited. And again, so the whole idea is to just make it much more attractive for people that want to live and work and play in Pound Ridge. So I love the opportunity, George, to sell Pound Ridge, and I'll come here every week if you let me to come here to sell Pound Ridge, because I think it's the best place that anybody could ever look to buy a house is Pound Ridge. So thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Kevin Hanson, the proud town supervisor of the town of Pound Ridge. And there are 45 different municipalities in Westchester County. We have 20 villages, 19 towns, and 6 cities. Every one of them is as proud as Kevin is about their home community. And I'm proud of all of them. I was born in one, I live in another one, and I've traveled through all the remaining ones. And each has their own personality and their own traits. When I come to Pound Ridge, and I've been to Pound Ridge quite a number of times during my tenure as county executive, Food Truck Fridays, if you're doing that again this year, put it on your calendar. Some Friday night, it stays light a little bit later once you get into the late spring and the summer. On a Friday night, it's a great gathering of everybody in the community, or most everybody in the community. And they also had a terrific fall festival that was out. I heard the Gin Blossoms play back from the 1990s. I know it's ancient music, but enjoys those visits, and I hope you'll get a chance to enjoy it. Ward Pound Ridge, the largest of all of our county parks, is in Pound Ridge, not only in Pound Ridge, but it borders into neighboring Lewisboro, and it's a beautiful nature environment where you can take long walks, and I do mean long walks. You can get lost in that park, and that is also at your front door. So, but thank you for being with us, and as I said, each week we're going to have a different municipal official join us. We've had in the past now quite a few from cities large and small, villages large and small, as a way to give a flavor of this county. You know, there's a perception that Westchester is sort of monolithically one thing, and as you can tell, when we have the mayor of Mount Vernon here, when we have the village mayor of Larchmont and the town supervisor of Pound Ridge, those are 3 very different communities. And whether we're talking about those on the Sound Shore, those in the Hudson River, those inland, not next to a body of water, but just beautiful inland foliage and great hiking trails. There really is just a lovely county that we've been blessed, you and I have been blessed to be residents of. So again, thank you, Kevin, for being with us today. We're going to talk next about action that we intend to take in Westchester County. We've submitted legislation to the Board of Legislators. They're going to be discussing and debating it over the course of the day, the next few days, which has been made possible by action of the New York State Legislature. When they adopted the state budget, which closed about a week into this month of April, about 2 weeks ago, they allowed local county governments to rescind a portion of the sales tax on gasoline products as a way to try to reduce the cost at the pump that we're experiencing. We're seeing a tremendous rise in the gas prices, and it's for a number of different reasons. Most prominently, there's a rise in crude oil, the per barrel cost of crude oil. We're seeing some of that is affected by the Ukrainian war. Some of it is affected by scarcity around the world. Some of it is the supply and demand that often drives prices up. But whatever the reasons are, we know when we gas up, we've seen a big spike in costs. So what governments can do about it varies, and a federal government may have certain powers, but a local government, in the case of the county government, has very few powers of what we can do. But the state has given us the authority to rescind a certain portion of the sales tax that we place on gasoline products at the pump. And the legislation I've submitted to the board, consistent with the legislation that was put into place in Suffolk County and Nassau County, which are 2 similar-sized counties to us downstate, allows us to cap the county's collection of sales tax on gasoline purchases to 12 cents a gallon, and that's equal roughly to the cost of the tax when gas is at $3 a gallon. Any amount above that is frozen, and depending on where you pump up, and obviously that price changes at the pump depending on which gas station you use, it's part of a savings that's also been created by the state doing something similar. Excuse me. Now, the overall impact of the state and the county action together is relatively modest. It's about 20 cents per gallon. There is a difference between paying $4.40 per gallon for gas and $4.20 per gallon, and the county is doing its share to do that alongside of the state. What we're hopeful is that the major oil companies will also see the same crisis that we see and will also take action. Excuse me. And if the oil companies see the same crisis that we have now, then they too have the capacity to rescind some of the at-pump costs. They're right now in a situation where they're doing very well on the profitability side because the revenue being generated by the increased prices is filling their coffers. And, of course, the governments that have tax on the rising costs of gasoline at the pump also benefited by the revenue. So we're losing some of that revenue purposefully in order to see there be a reduction at the pump. The impact of this decision is about a $7 million impact, which means the county will receive $7 million less in sales tax than we would be otherwise entitled to in order to lower the price at the pump. And the state's portion is even greater than that. Now, as a standalone act, that requires action by the Board of Legislators. I've spoken with the chair of the board, Catherine Borgia. She and the board are aware of the proposal. They will be discussing it over the course of the next week, and they'll take action. I believe they'll take favorable action, but that is within their discretion. At the same time, we have made a companion activity that no other county government has made, and that is we are prepared, in addition to reducing the amount of gasoline price at the pump, to suspend Beeline bus fares for the period of time beginning June 1st and ending at the end of Labor Day, which I believe is September 6th. So throughout the months of June, July, August, and a little bit of September, there will be no charge to ride a Beeline bus anywhere in Westchester County. That savings is profound for the people that use mass transit. And in the same way that we're concerned about the cost of gasoline at the pump in these inflationary times, we want to do what we can do, what we're legally limited to do. At the same time, we know that people who use mass transit, whether they use the bus to get to a commuter rail or they use the bus to get to the New York City subway system or to their final destination, that we want to try to reduce costs for them as well. In fact, if reducing the costs of fares over the summer is an even greater savings in your pocket, that might reference over $100 a month in savings. It might convert some of those automobile trips that can be satisfied by bus usage into a bus trip over that period of time. It's much less impactful to be on a bus at no cost than to gas up and spend that much more money. So we're hopeful that this rescission of bus fares for the summer will have a positive effect for all of those people who work during the summertime and any of the outdoor facilities and activities that are important. This will be welcome relief in their wallet. And in this inflationary time, we hope that will be helpful. Now, again, there's limited things that a county government can do. The action that we take in the gas tax will affect where we collect the sales tax in the towns and the villages and the two smaller cities of Westchester County. The four largest cities of Westchester County have their own sales tax imposed. There's a very small portion of county sales tax in those four cities: White Plains, Yonkers, New Rochelle, and Mount Vernon. So the savings at the pump in those four cities will be somewhat less. Each of those cities have the option to take action as they see fit, and of course the statewide action applies everywhere. But we believe this is what is permissible to us, and therefore an intelligent action to take. The counties all around us are taking somewhat similar action. Again, we pattern our action looking at Nassau and Suffolk, similar-sized counties, and between the lowering of the gas tax and the rescission of fares on the buses, the lifting of fares on the buses, the two of those items together will have an impact on the county budget in terms of revenue, but we can absorb that given the performance that we've had so far this year in sales tax and in other revenue streams. So this is a very affordable action to take, and we believe it's the right action to take. So hopefully when that goes into effect, it all is targeted for June 1st. Legislative action will have to happen over the course of the next week so that it can be in effect by May 2nd, which is the deadline that New York State has established in giving us the authority. And when we take that action, hopefully we will, that will put us on the right path. The rescission of the bus fares is totally within our authority as an executive branch. We do not need legislative support, but we sought the discussion and the debate at the Board of Legislators as they balance both of those two issues off together. So we wanted to give you the update on that, and we think that that is a positive statement. On the COVID front, the numbers simply are not good. We're seeing a rise in COVID cases. Once again, this is not the first time we've seen a rise in COVID cases. This pandemic, over 2 years in duration, has had a number of times when the numbers have started to rise, and they have risen again. They are not rising at the exponential level that we saw in December, when the Omicron variant hit us full force, and we went from a relatively low number of total active cases at 1,000 or so cases, and we shot all the way up to 36,000 active cases of coronavirus during a 10-day period or so in the month of January. Those numbers started to come down dramatically, and I think most of us felt as we were heading into the warmer weather, we haven't quite gotten to the warmer weather yet, but when the calendar turned to March and April and then May, we figured we'd be in better shape. That's what our experience was in 20 and in 21, that we saw numbers drop because of the warmer springtime weather, more people going outdoors. We've not seen that this year, and it could be that the subvariant that we've heard about has now had their impact. It could also be as we have lifted all kinds of mandates on masks and from the statewide level and so forth, and that we're much more ready to be interactive with each other. Societally, we're spreading the disease again. I don't know exactly what the rationale is for the spike. I'll let those who are watching this on a larger level comment, but we're seeing it across New York State and we're seeing it across the United States. The Westchester numbers, as of yesterday, Sunday, April 24th, shows 3,079 active cases of coronavirus. We broke the 3,000 active case mark for the first time in a number of months about 2 weeks ago, not quite, 10 days ago. And we've oscillated up and down around that 3,000 number, slightly above it, slightly below it, over the last 10 days or so. That may be a stabilizing factor here in Westchester. 10 days is not a long enough period to draw a longer-term observation on it. But for everybody who tests positive, and you have to go through a 10-day period until protocol says you are COVID-free, in that 10-day period is the period in which we aggregate the number of people that have an active case of coronavirus. That number is 3,079. When I have reported to you in the last couple of weeks, particularly 2 weeks and 3 weeks ago, I made the note that fatalities were not rising and hospitalizations were not rising. That is now half true. The fatality numbers still continue to be relatively low. Every fatality is a tragedy, so no one is minimizing that the loss of a loved one is merely a statistic. Those fatality rates have remained very low, but the hospitalization rates now are starting to climb in absolute numbers. We are now in the 60 to 70 range. We actually were a little higher about a week ago. In the 70 range. The most recent number as of Saturday was 65 people hospitalized for COVID. Now, to put that in perspective, that's 10% of where we were in the heart of the Omicron peak in January, where we had 677 people hospitalized. And we were never in a position of threatening the total bed count in the county, which we estimate to be about 2,700 beds. That's if you emptied every bed out from all other uses and you made it totally for COVID. At 2,700 cases, to be at 677, that's a fraction of that number. But 677 is the highest number we had ever hit in terms of people hospitalized. And those hospitalized shows the depth of the infection. People might get the disease. I had my bout with it in December, and I had almost no effects. The allergies that I'm evidencing now with my coughing and sneezing the last couple of weeks has impacted me more than when I had COVID and I had no symptoms whatsoever. But the reality of it is that the numbers had dropped down dramatically a few weeks ago, a month ago, and now have started to come up on the rise. Just to give you the framework, 1 month ago on March 24th, we had 1,257 active cases compared to 3,079. That's more than a doubling in active cases. We had 25 people hospitalized on March 24th, and again, we have 65 people hospitalized on April 24th. So those aren't good numbers. We are not, at this stage of the game, at this report, we have no plans to institute either an emergency declaration order at this point, nor do we plan to have any restrictions. We're watching the numbers. The fact that they've stable the last 10 days at about the same number is a slightly positive sign. We'll see if that continues over the next week. We reserve the right to take whatever action we think is prudent. But it's important to understand we're not taking action ideologically. We're not doing things because we have a predetermined idea of how this thing is fought. And we've tried to ramp up and ramp down depending on the things that have come before us. But from a practical standpoint, COVID is back on the rise. I encourage you to be vaccinated. The single biggest thing you can do is to be vaccinated. And if you're vaccinated, it does not mean you will not get COVID, but it does mean that you are highly likely to have a milder case of COVID. And a mild case might be a day where you feel ill or 2 days where you feel ill, but you do not get sick enough to wind up in the hospital, and you certainly don't come to death's door. And as a reminder, 2,709 people, Westchester residents, have died to COVID. So this is not a joke. And we all have friends, I think we all have friends and sometimes loved ones that have suffered death because of COVID. And prominent people in the society have died because of COVID. Herman Cain, the political activist, died of COVID. There are a wide variety of people that have suffered from the disease. So let us continue to be prudent. That leads us into discussing the issue of masking in the last remaining area of mandates that the county has any direct responsibility for. The state government and the federal government holds the authority primarily to impose mask mandates societally on a broad basis. The closest that the county came to instituting a mask mandate on our own authority was to do that inside the county office buildings, which we did in late December, and we held that in for a little over a month until we passed through the peak of coronavirus Omicron outbreak. And for our purposes, it worked. We had no super spreader reality in any of our county office buildings. The masking process for some people is not a big deal. For some people, it's a big ideological statement. It's a matter of how people look at these things, almost philosophically or politically, rather than whatever it intrinsically is or isn't. But we lifted that mask mandate before the state lifted their mandate, and we had no other broader societal mandates. The state did impose mandates, first in the general society and then specifically in schools. Both of those have been lifted, but we watched the movement on COVID infections to make a determination what's happening out there. There is a residual mandate that continues from the federal government, and that revolves around transportation facilities. And we had a mask mandate that affected two areas of county direct operation, the Beeline bus system and the Westchester County Airport. And in both of those cases, the action by the federal government imposed masks on our mass transit, on our buses, and then also the same at our airports. Now, that mandate was lifted by the federal government not too long ago, within the last 2 weeks, maybe a little bit less time than that. And it was left for options to be taken by those operating agencies. Now, we're in an interesting position because the airport, the people who use the airport, the people who come in and go out of the airport, fundamentally operate differently than the people that get on or off city buses, Beeline buses. So we, trying to be pragmatic, had two different strategies about what to do. What we have done right now at the Westchester County Airport is made masks optional. Why do we do that? Because people in the flying public who are coming into Westchester County Airport or leaving Westchester County Airport for another destination will be flying into other airports for which they may or may not have a mandate. And we don't want people to be in the mindset they take it on, they take it off. The airline system does not require masks as a mandate elsewhere, and the period of time that you're walking through the Westchester County Airport may be limited. It is not necessarily a close, up close and personal contact with other people. You could socially distance in the way you handle yourself coming out of the airport, certainly, perhaps going in. And so we have left it optional at the airport. We have continued the mandate on our bus system. Now, many people get on a Beeline bus. I alluded to this just a second ago. Many of them use the Beeline bus to access Metro North, commuter rail, or the New York City subway system. We have a number of routes that take you to 241st Street subway in the Wakefield section of the Bronx. We have some that will take you to 242nd Street, Van Cortlandt Park area in the Riverdale section of the Bronx. We have buses that take you to Dyer Avenue in the East Bronx. And with all of that, when you get on Metro North or you get on the New York City subway system, you must have a mask on. That's the responsibility of the MTA, and they have determined that masks need to stay on. And it's interesting because the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey, which governs the airports, have had a split decision. In New Jersey, one set of strategies, in New York, another set of strategies. So we're all figuring it out as we go along. But we felt that it made sense for us to continue to require masks on the bus system. And part of it, too, is when you're on a bus, you are sitting with whoever else is on the bus at that time, generally strangers, and you'll be on that bus up close and personal for an extended period of time. It could be 20 minutes, it could be a half an hour, it could be an hour, however long the bus journey that you're on is. And if you wind up on the subways or the Metro North, then you're having to maintain having masks on. So two different strategies that tied to the way you use the facilities. Masks on the buses, no masks walking through the airport. And we will, assess that policy as we go forward, determine if it changes or not. As I said before, and I'll say it again, we don't make these policies based on ideology. We do not assume that everybody should be free or everybody should be restricted. We try to make the decision based on what we think is the best way to stop the spread with the least amount of interaction that reduces your ability to make choices in your own life. But in the area of a pandemic with a disease that is easily communicable, your personal decision affects the people around you. This is not, you're out in the Montana wilds, and whatever decision you make affects you and only you. So we have to try to make those decisions in a practical way. That's where we've come down in terms of the masking, and we hope that that's an intelligent decision, and we'll see if it is, and we'll change it either way depending on what happens in our various activities. Let me mention that this week we have a couple of vaccine satellite locations that are up. We continue to provide vaccinations at our Yonkers Clinic at 20 South Broadway in Yonkers, and also at our White Plains Health Clinic at 134 Court Street. Those two clinics are open during the course of the business day during the week, but we've targeted certain times for COVID vaccinations. On Monday, the Yonkers Clinic provides COVID vaccinations from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's today, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at our Yonkers Health Clinic at 20 South Broadway. Appointments are encouraged, but walk-ins are welcome. And they have the first shots, the second shot, and the third shot, aka booster shots, available. Then at the White Plains Clinic, that clinic is available on Friday for vaccinations, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. over the course of the day. Same scenario. Appointments are encouraged, not required, but they're encouraged. And walk-ins are welcome. Same thing. First shots, second shots, and third shots / booster shots available Monday in Yonkers, Friday in White Plains at our health clinics. Separate and distinct from that, at the Ward Elementary School gym in New Rochelle, this coming Friday the 29th, they will be back for second shots for those that received their first shots earlier this month. That's from 3 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Ward Elementary School is located right on the intersection of Broadfield and Quaker Ridge Road in New Rochelle. I try to know my geography, and that's important for the people who have had their first shots at that location, and they are doing pediatric vaccinations, but they're also doing vaccinations of adults there as well. And then Saturday, April 30th, Yonkers Riverfront Library, right down at Larkin Plaza, right by the train station, will also provide vaccinations from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Saturday the 30th at Yonkers Riverfront Library. We will continue to make shots available at our two clinics and at various satellite locations, and we'll report on each of them each week as we go through the time. I do want to mention also, while we're talking about the Westchester County Airport, we're getting ready in the month of May to start our public outreach on discussions for a proposed master plan at the airport. We expect this to be a year and a half project. Public input, drafting a document, a report, debate the report document, have it go before the Board of Legislators. They debate it with public dialogue, and ultimately do an environmental review of what that document would be, and then lock it in as a master plan for us to work off of. Having a master plan for any of these major facilities is intelligent. It lays out a game plan that is more than just one administration or 1 year's worth of decision making, but we intend for it to be a robust discussion all across the county. The first meeting that we have, May 24th, is at 6 p.m. at Pace Law School here in White Plains, and we hope that people will attend. We will announce other dates as well, and when we do announce those dates, we'll also include a virtual date for public hearing, and we may have additional public settings beyond that. Also, we want to note that there's a new airline that will be flying out of Westchester County Airport. This is not an expansion in the sense that this airline will be using existing available slots that are currently unused, so it doesn't add to the total extent of the airport. But Breeze Airways, which bills himself as the seriously nice airline. I come out of a marketing background, as you may know, and I always like a good marketing line. Breeze Airways is a new U.S. low-fare airline. It's founded by aviation entrepreneur David Nealman, and he's known from JetBlue days. And there's 8 routes leaving from Westchester bound for Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Charleston, South Carolina, Norfolk, Virginia, Jacksonville, Florida, Savannah, Georgia, and one-stop same plane service onto New Orleans, Louisiana. So that's opening up some additional cities, and certainly West Coast cities, given the equipment, still equipment appropriate to this airport, appropriate to the runway. We welcome them. They're new Airbuses, not expansion, but it does add some additional service. So we're working on the master plan. We're pleased to have a new airline come in to provide some service, and we look forward to having you part of the public dialogue process for the master plan. Next, I'm going to ask Ken Jenkins to join us here to talk about the Grid Rewards program. We have some guest folks here to discuss the app. Ken Jenkins, Deputy County Executive.
Thanks, George. This is a really exciting opportunity to partner with our great friends from Sustainable Westchester, Logical Buildings, and our local municipal leaders to talk about this new app called Grid Rewards. Specifically here in Westchester, as the electricity costs have been on the rise, and Westchester residents looking to lessen their carbon footprint. Thousands of Con Ed customers are realizing that there are many benefits to using the free Grid Rewards app to manage their daily energy usage, including cash rewards up to 20% of their bill, and lower their monthly utility bills. So any combination of those things are fantastic for individuals. So this easy-to-use app will prompt and inform the subscribers when to raise or lower their air conditioning settings by a few degrees, run appliances like washing machines and dishwashers, and also sends out reminders to turn off the lights in unoccupied rooms, among other tips, all while helping users accrue cash rewards. So it's like having your dad in your pocket all the time to remind you with those notifications to turn off those lights. All the dads just laughed about that one because it's really true. All right? Walking around, make sure they do those kind of things. But those kind of savings and things that can happen when you can do things off hours and working with Con Ed and with Sustainable Westchester, there's absolutely an opportunity to do these kind of things and make things to have smart energy management decisions in real time. So you're also prompted to get those rewards, and that can be collected through the paper check, but more importantly through PayPal. And for those folks that are involved in both the Smart Rewards program for electric vehicles, same kind of thing with they have the PayPal rewards, and it's definitely something that's really great. So in nearly 2 years since the program's rolled out, the Grid Rewards community has prevented more than 200 tons of carbon from reaching the atmosphere. That is data that is backed up by the facts, and anytime that you can have these encouragements, especially things like rewards programs, that's so very helpful. But to give us a lot more detail about that, including how you can get the Grid Rewards app downloaded to any smartphone from your Apple Play or the App Store or Google Play Store, doesn't require Wi-Fi, a computer, or technical expertise to set up and use. Certainly it's using your telephone to do that. We're going to bring up a great friend from Sustainable Westchester, our good friend Lauren Broyce, to talk more about those kind of programs that are happening, the Grid Rewards program, and all the other things that are happening with Sustainable Westchester. So, Lauren.
Thanks so much, Ken. Thank you. And I should also mention that Ken is a board member with Sustainable Westchester, and we are so grateful for your support. Okay, so hi there everyone. My name is Lauren Broyce, and like Ken was saying, I work at Sustainable Westchester, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about our Grid Rewards program. And before I do that, I just want to mention that Sustainable Westchester is a nonprofit organization, and we represent our member municipalities. So pretty much every single municipality in Westchester County is a member of Sustainable Westchester, and that also includes Westchester County itself. And through our membership structure, we're able to provide programming to the municipalities and to their residents, including homeowners, renters, small businesses, nonprofits, you name it, we have a program to help. So let's get right into it. I know we've been really happy and grateful to Westchester County to help us promote the Grid Rewards program, and we also want to thank our member municipalities and the sustainability groups across the county for helping us to promote Grid Rewards. And I had a wonderful Earth Day weekend, like many Westchester County residents probably did. There was Earth Day events all over from southern Westchester to northern Westchester, and at a lot of those Earth Day events, we were talking about Grid Rewards. So if you weren't able to participate in Earth Day this weekend, a festival, there's a great Earth Day energy action you can take this week to sign up for Grid Rewards, and a lovely way to kind of round out Earth Month with signing up for the app. So Grid Rewards is a demand response program, and it empowers Westchester residents and small energy users to take control and earn cash back and also reduce pollution. So like Ken was saying, by lowering electricity usage at key time, we can reduce the need for the utility to bring peaker plants online, which is really important. It offers monetary savings and also an important environmental justice impact. So peaker plants, if you're not familiar with the term, are power plants that the utility has to turn on to provide extra electricity to the grid during the key summertime hours where everyone's got their AC on, it's a really hot day. So instead of having the utility need to turn on these peaker plants, the grid is peaking, so they're calling them peaker plants, we can collectively reduce our energy and achieve a reduction. So the peaker plant doesn't need to turn on, and environmental justice community does not need to suffer from additional pollution, and residents can also earn some cash back, which is a really great thing. I myself participated last summer and was really happy to do so. I live in an apartment in White Plains and earned over $106 by participating in 3 of the 5 demand response events. So like Ken also mentioned, last year we had over 2,000 people sign up, and that produced on average between $68 to $100 in savings. And when Ken said 200 tons of CO2 reduced, what does that actually mean? Well, it equates to about 15,000 cars off the road for a day, or offsetting about 500,000 miles driven. So we're really eager to bring this program to all Con Ed customers so they can benefit too. And unlike a lot of utility programs about energy savings, this program does not require you to be a homeowner. You could be an apartment dweller, a condo owner, a small business owner, a nonprofit, or even a municipality can sign up to participate in grid rewards. And some of the benefits that people can experience when they sign up is not only getting cash back by participating on these days, but also by getting some energy insights into your own electricity usage. So like Ken mentioned, the app is on your phone. You can sign in and see what's going on with your utility bill. You can take a look and see how much you'll be paying in an upcoming bill, estimated, and also take a look at the carbon emissions and monetary value of your electricity usage in your house or apartment or building. And also until April 30th, there is a refer a friend feature. So you sign on to the app, click refer a friend, and for every friend that signs up and participates, you get $10 and they get $10 to be added into the grid reward saving at the end of the year. And we also want to thank all the municipalities that have promoted the Grid Rewards campaign and also mention that they're participating in NYSERDA's Clean Energy Communities program, and they're earning grant funds and also points. So in 2021, over 20 municipalities participated in the Grid Rewards campaign and earned grant funding to do amazing projects. Some installed composting toilets, some installed electric chargers for their municipality. So they're doing double duty and getting money for their residents and also grant funds for their municipality, which we really love. So we hope people sign up. You can sign up anytime, but if you sign up before April 30th, you'll be maximizing your performance potential. And that's a lovely Earth Day action to take to honor Earth Month. And we're really grateful for Westchester County for helping us share this important opportunity. We look forward to collectively reducing carbon emissions this summer. Together with our neighbors, our small change really does add up to real carbon impact and real money. Let's shift the power to our entire community. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, and that's an exciting program. We want to thank Sustainable Westchester for their leadership on this, and the county is happy to be a partner with them on this and on other environmental issues that are important. We know that there's many more things that we can do together that would be positive, and again, we're appreciative for that leadership. Just want to highlight a couple of things more, and then we'll go to any questions that may be out there. We've mentioned that despite the concerns that we have about COVID, this year we have scheduled our various 2022 cultural celebrations. Those are the various ethnic festivals that we have traditionally had, primarily at Kensico Dam Plaza. Some of them have been at Ridge Road Park. And we have a wide range of them for all different ethnic groups. The first one of these are coming up on Sunday, May 15th from noon to 6 p.m. at the Kensico Dam Plaza. And this is our 43rd annual Polish Heritage Day. And this is the first of a number of these. This is going to showcase Polish-American cultural exhibits, polka music and dancing, featuring a children's Polish school performance. You'll be able to meet the 2022 Parade Marshal, Miss Polonia, sample authentic Polish foods and baked goods, browsing a variety of vendors that will be celebrating and selling Polish crafts. And this is a great opportunity for neighbors who either share that ethnicity or just want to be around a good, fun afternoon at Kensico Dam Plaza. That is the first of our many festivals. It'll be followed on June 4th, also at Kensico Dam Plaza, Saturday with the Asian American Festival. The Albanian Festival comes the next day, Sunday, June 5th, also at Kensico Dam Plaza. The Irish Festival is June 25th from noon to 7 at Ridge Road Park. African American Festival, June 26th, the Sunday at Kensico. The Hispanic celebration, July 10th on a Sunday at Kensico Dam Plaza. The Italian Festival on the 24th on Sunday of July at Kensico Dam Plaza. A festival for our Jewish brothers and sisters in August 21st at Kensico Dam Plaza, and then one for the Muslim community on Sunday, August 28th, noon to 6. We're hopeful that all of these festivals will be able to be held. We're planning on it. We're moving straight forward. We think this is a great way to show the great mosaic of Westchester County, the diversity that makes up Westchester County, and I think we're stronger when we celebrate our different heritages as all part of one broader Westchester, where we work together, we play together, we enjoy each other's culture together, each other's food and dance and music, and we're very proud of that here in Westchester County. So that calendar is available if you go onto our website, westchestergov.com, and we hope you'll come to all of them and enjoy every bit of it, and certainly we'll be there to celebrate the pride of each of these ethnic groups as we go forward. You should be aware that Bicycle Sunday will start Sunday, May 1st, that is this coming Sunday. We intend for it at the present to go through the end of June and then resume again in the fall. That is the format we used prior to COVID. When so many other recreational facilities were shut down due to COVID, we were able to extend Bicycle Sundays throughout the months of July and August. We had people who were not traveling, unable to stay anyplace else. They were home, so we were able to find some generous donations that enabled us to have additional weeks of Bicycle Sunday for July and August. If we find any of that philanthropy between now and the beginning of July, we might be able to extend the dates then. But for right now, starts the 1st of May, this coming Saturday, May 1st, and we'll continue through the last weekend in June. We always take off Memorial Day weekend. The 4th of July generally is off, and then Labor Day weekend as well when we reinstitute it in the fall. But Bicycle Sunday on the Bronx River Parkway, from White Plains just south of the county center down to the intersection in Scarsdale, Tuckahoe, Yonkers area, Scarsdale Road, Tuckahoe, Yonkers. It's really a great ride, and you can access any of the parking areas off of Route 22 and be able to put that on your list of fun things to do. And the County Recreation Department is very happy to be able to highlight those things. The last thing I want to talk about is trash. Yesterday, we had our first of 3 household cleanup days, and we've traditionally had them in 3 locations: at FDR Park in Yorktown, which is where we held it yesterday. We also hold it in Yonkers this year at Sprain Ridge Park. That's scheduled for May 7th, and then in November we often hold it at Playland Park. That's what we've done traditionally. We'll see if that becomes the same structure this year. And having it in 3 corners of the county allows you to get many of the household goods that cannot be disposed of in the normal garbage or wastewater streams and bring them to a site where they can be taken and with no cost to you and disposed of in an environmentally sound way. Yesterday, we had nearly 1,000 households came to the park. They dropped off household chemicals, tires, electronic waste, medications, Freon appliances, and other difficult to dispose items. And really, they also have documents can be shredded at that time. And it's really a terrific situation. We had so many vehicles yesterday, we had to close it slightly before the expected close time at 3:15. So unfortunately, by closing a little bit earlier, there were some people that were disadvantaged by it. But we do have a permanent center that can collect these items. It's located on Woods Road on the Valhalla Grasslands campus for Westchester County. In fact, I had this very thing happen to me a couple of years ago when we had one scheduled at Playland, and I had electronic waste in the back of the car, and I didn't have the time to get on the long line when I went. So I merely brought it over the following Tuesday to that location and can drop it off. That's at 15 Woods Road, the Household Material Recovery Facility, the HMRF, to use acronyms as we tend to. Tuesdays through Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And this is an important way for you to get rid of those things around your home that are cluttering up your house and get them out in an environmentally sound way. Many of these products should not be put in the garbage, some of which will wind up going to the Wheelabrator burn plant in Charles Point. You should not flush certain of these things down the toilet. Our sewer treatment system cannot treat all of the kinds of liquids that might be poured down there, and some of that would then go out to the river or the sound, unable to be treated properly. So you want to dispose of certain items. You look at the can or the bottle that the item came in, or make the judgment of the kind of product that it is, and should it be disposed of in a more appropriate way. If you have any questions, you can call Westchester County, and they'll tell you. Now, these were very important opportunities, these cleanup days. I remember back 25, 30 years ago when I was first a member of the Board of Legislators, we had cleanup days and we did not have a permanent center. We talked about having a permanent center. I remember taking a trip down to Burlington County, New Jersey, with then two colleagues, Kay Karski of blessed memory and Ursula Lamott, two fellow county legislators. We went down to look at the permanent facility that they had in Burlington County. We did not have one at the time. We have subsequently created a permanent facility, which we're very proud of. But those cleanup days are more convenient for many people. If you live in and around or in closer proximity to Yonkers than to Valhalla, to Rye and the Sound Shore than Valhalla, or Yorktown, if you're closer there than to Valhalla, going to those cleanup days once a year enables you to get rid of these things. They're very popular, and that's why we routinely have more people that want to show up than we have capacity for. Those special days were discontinued back in 2012. I think it was a mistake to have done it at the time. The cost involved was a short-term savings, but a long-term expense, because people, when they did not have the ability to dispose of them properly in an easy fashion, they disposed of them improperly in a way that cost us. It was sort of a silent cost, the cost of the environment. And so once we brought them back in 2018, when we took office, they've been very popular, and we think that is part of the service that we, the county government, ought to provide to you as the resident free of charge, and we do. So look for the next event, May 7th at Sprain Ridge Park in Yonkers, right off of Jackson Avenue. It's easily accessible off of I-87, the New York State Thruway that goes through the western spine of the county, easily accessible off the Sprain Ridge Parkway, Springbrook Parkway, that serves also in that general area. Route 9 serves it very closely. Yonkers, Greenberg, a host of different individuals very close to that. Second location coming up May 7th, Sprain Ridge Park. With that, we've covered some of the things that we intended to cover. We appreciate your patience. Let me see from Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, if there are any questions. Catherine.
Yes, so the first question comes from David Proper from the Journal News. He asks, so the legislature needs to actually approve anything for the bus fare, or would it be a non-binding resolution stating whether or not they would support it?
The legislature approval is not needed for the bus fare rescission. That is an executive authority that we have. However, we put the memo before the Board of Legislators, and the resolution will be to sort of reinforce that they're in agreement with this policy. We like to do things cooperatively if we can. We like to do things bipartisanly if we can, and that is the purpose of us informing them. And we tie the bus fare rescission, unofficially tied, because you can't tie it together legally, with the decision to lower the gas tax. So we show an even-handedness. And I think that is the purpose of my communicating to the Board of Legislators, to inform them and to encourage their support for this. Now, if for some reason they would not support it, then we would have some dialogue. But we're not on a tight time frame for the rescission of fares. That's a decision we could make a few days in advance of the June 1st date. But what is important is their action on the gas tax reduction. And so we see them as parallel structures to deal with both those that commute by driving and those that commute by bus.
And the next two questions come from Martin Wilbur. He asks, with the suspension of the Beeline bus fare for the summer, is there any estimate of how much would be collected?
Well, we will lose revenue by doing that. We've estimated that depending on how you calculate the potential ridership, ridership has been down on the Beeline bus system during the pandemic. Pandemic is still with us at some level, not as much as it was the last 2 years. We may lose as much as $6 to $7 million of revenue that we would otherwise have if we charged people during the course of those months. Now, because we have had such a robust tax result from sales tax and from other revenue streams, and we have saved money by other actions we've taken, the loss of that revenue does not change our budget appropriately. We are not tapping our reserves to pay for it. We are not having to increase some other tax or revenue to cover it. We have enough overage in order to offset those costs. But it is a cost, probably, each of those two decisions reach about a $7 million cost in the aggregate. And I would point out that, to my knowledge, if something's changed, that perhaps may be true, but we're the only county in New York State to couple the gas tax reduction with the reduction of bus fares. And we think that, as I said a second ago, is a fair, balanced way to approach it.
And his second question, which is also the last question we have, where are the excess revenues coming from and how much?
Well, I mean, you really need a full review of the budget in order to understand that. It's not a revenue stream here that is directly tied to this money being spent. You look at a series of revenues that are coming in. We have property tax revenue and sales tax revenue are the two major revenue streams. We have reimbursements from the state and the federal government for a variety of programs and services that we provide. We have smaller revenue streams, hotel occupancy tax, mortgage recording tax. There are other revenue streams in addition. And I've highlighted some of the new revenue streams that we've determined negotiating with Airbnb to have a payment in lieu of taxes that would take the place of hotel occupancy tax through Airbnbs. We've had additional revenue stream from new energy reduction. All of those revenues, when you add it up on the revenue side, more than offset the money that we will not receive from doing this. I think the important thing to understand is that the actions we're taking do not have a negative impact financially to the county. We've looked at this, we've thought this through. We're not taking anything that's a reckless decision. We're doing a decision of something that we can afford. And it's the same way that you reach into your pocket, your son comes to you and says, "Dad, can I have $20? You don't give him $20 and say, "Son, this $20 would have gone to pay the rent, but I'm going to give it to you." This is, you know how much discretionary money you have in your pocket. You can afford the $20. You still have the $15 to go out and buy milk and bread. And so, here, son, here's $20. It's affordable within your budget. These decisions are affordable within our budget. So thank you, Martin Wilbur from the Examiner newspapers for those two questions, David Proper from LOHUD, the Journal News, for the initial question. If there are any other questions from any other members of the press, please feel free to reach out to Catherine Chaffee, our Director of Communications, at 995-2932. We thank you for watching. We'll have some other updates on different issues. I believe we plan to talk about the wrong way task force that we've impaneled and some of the recommendations a little bit later this week. We will be back a week from today to discuss another update at 2 p.m. We will be crossing over into the month of May. We hope the weather gets better and we can consistently see the springtime before we see the summertime. But we appreciate you watching. And if any of you wanted to get the full scope of what we're doing in county government, look at our Facebook posting. Just last Thursday, we had a rather detailed State of the County message. It's long, but it's thorough, and it'll answer a lot of your questions if you're so inclined to watch. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thanks for watching. Have a terrific day, and stay safe.